Who will stand up for the small island developing states who need 1.5 degrees to survive as we go to COP26? Who will stand up? A call for global, moral, and strategic leadership in climate change mitigation and adaptation can no longer be ignored.
The ESSRG is a global international network that was founded almost 30 years ago. And since then, we've been engaged with the distinctive educational, environmental, and development challenges faced by small island developing states. Specific attention has been given in our research to the priorities and achievements of SIDS, and most specifically to what the international community can learn from their distinctive experience at what we have collectively called the sharp end of environmental uncertainty. It is in this spirit that today's event has been planned, with our aim to bring together a diversity of voices from the sharp end to contribute directly to the COP26 deliberations. And I'm particularly pleased that our presentations will feature research and voices from the Maldives in the Indian Ocean and Tuvalu in the Pacific, two nations that face existential challenges and national inundation if sea level rises by just 2 meters.
So when countries meet together in Glasgow at COP26, those living at the sharp end of environmental uncertainty, we want these voices to be heard.
As is evident, climate anxiety is up close and personal for all who we had the opportunity to talk to. We reached out to our colleagues on various islands to provide us with brief videos capturing their everyday experiences and anxieties about the environment and the climate change. These voices come from a range of contributors from different levels of the society, varying from school children to policymakers.
I'm from the Maldives, and of course when I think of the environment, it is obvious that I'm thinking of our islands, our coral reefs, the ocean around us, the trees, basically the nature around us.
Personally, I've been in the ocean for the last, since I was a kid, so ocean has been my playground, and it's kind of my soul in it. We talk about climate change and we talk about the oceans, and we are the oceans. So if anything happens to the oceans, we feel it first. Without even knowing it, we feel it. For example, when we get bad weather, strong winds, we feel it. Because we call it sea level rise, people might be a bit disconnected to what is happening here, because sea level rise, they will think sea is suddenly rising. But what is happening is climate change is happening, weather is changing. Our country is 2 feet above sea level, so we will be losing a lot to these weather changes. And before the sea level really can rise to do something more, we would not be there by the time. So we need to connect people to what is happening.
In tourism for the last 40 years plus, our experiences are quite substantial from a personal experience. We had the opportunity to get into resorts. We never had to plan for shore protection even 25-30 years ago. 5 years ago, we bid for an island where again the shore protection was not a major aspect. Once we started construction, the Shore protection has become one of the most critical, one of the highest single investment that is required. Now you have to build for in excess of 100-kilometer winds. You have to raise the ground level well above to rise and hit the bottom of the water villas. So the impact is quite severe. We have to invest on things we have never thought about investing. And now we have to accept the environmental impact as a reality.
Hanna ikani evveskabannu kurevene e harben miule huriha emmevegin kurevene masakkatta meya kurum kurevene kantattaka avdumata dinuma new generation tatto emiyun astu build gokke me become product.
I'd like to say that the Maldives has recently passed a climate emergency act because we feel that the situation is so dire that we need to make sure that climate change is reflected across all of our sectors and it is incorporated in all of our regulations. So the importance of climate emergency bill is that this gives us an opportunity in the government to ensure that climate change is mainstreamed across all sectors. So this means it will be addressed in tourism, in agriculture, in construction, education, health. We have also declared our intention to be a net zero country in 2030, which is very, very ambitious for a small country like the Maldives. We want to show the world that we are willing to take every policy decision to make sure that we do our part in ensuring that we keep the global temperatures from rising beyond 1.5 degrees.
The younger generation, they are going to be studying a lot about that, and I really think that they will make a big impact on climate change because they are the hope of this future.
As we can see, there's a diverse range of voices of concerns, hopes, and dreams about our environment among us Maldivians. The collective argument is that the threat we face is real, so we need to act now to make a change to save ourselves and to save the earth.
Tuvalu is the fourth smallest island nation in the world. It consists of 5 atolls and 4 coral reef islands. The average height of the islands is less than 2 meters above sea level, with the highest point being about 4.6 meters. If the sea level continues to rise, Tuvalu is predicted to sink by 2050. Climate change may cause the extinction of natural indicators, one of the foundations of their knowledge, culture, whenua, and their very existence. The traditional ecological knowledge of weather forecasting is shared in community meetings, workshops, and woven into the school curriculum. However, while it is documented and passed on generationally, there is a concern that they may lose the natural indicators due to the increase in temperature.
Asian Sego Avataka, Yoga and Rashidi, Amama Rashidi, I cannot hear one, Dinah, Fatino Mami, but I'm not.
Fai la ho tupu a mea o nei. Se mawhai o tonu ki matematenga o te tau o te aso. O te mea ke mawhai o whakatoka, o te mafulinga o te tau o te aso. Te rala mo tau tū mo whaiwhainga, mo tau wilonga, o mo tau saulotonga, o nofo nei se tūlanga whakamataki ki. Pēnā whoki mo tau whakamoemoenga, ka se tau nuu. Te rala, e whakamole atu lo ki taki o te lalangi. Ke whai te kai whakangalu e tū la whono. O whakanofonga o la. Kawe sosoani ki Tuvalu. O nisi atu whenua pili mai ki mai a mātou. O te mea ke mawhai ne mātou ko ola isi o langa fia fia.
The survival of Tuvalu, their identity, culture, and sovereignty is in your hands, leaders. If our people are given climate justice, access to relevant and practical climate policies, and genuine interventions, our children, our future, will get to enjoy the same things that we value and treasure today.
Since the education sector is listed among the most critical sectors for consideration for present and projected impacts of climate change because of its impact on future generations, every effort must be made to mainstream education for sustainability at all levels. The international community needs to identify one of its agencies with a proven record in education planning and management in small island developing states to drive and coordinate that effort. Really, there is not much time left.
Small island developing states, I would argue, really changed the agenda in Paris. And the reason they changed the agenda was small increases in temperature affect them more than almost any other geographical location in the world. And they very successfully argued that we shouldn't be limiting global climate warming to 2 degrees, because at 2 degrees a lot of their islands are underwater, and in fact we should strive for 1.5 degrees. So I would argue that it was the small island development states that really got that 1.5 degrees in the Paris Agreement.
The islands argued then that their very survival depended on the world's collective commitment to ensure that average temperatures do not increase by more than 1.5 degrees, and that sea level rise does not increase by more than 1.5 meters before the middle of the century. 1.5 to stay alive. Who will stand up for the small island development states? Who